And now you're going to have a close-up look at one of the most important but least known elements of movie making. Sound effects editing.
Making a film is a collaborative effort between a lot of different teams working independently of each other. They're all working on the same film, but we're all specialists and we do specific tasks. My task is I'm a sound designer and a sound editor, and I cut the sound effects that are added to the picture later on. Typically, when I get the picture, there's a lot less sound there than most people would anticipate. There's the sound that was recorded with the picture. In a fight film like this, one of the things that's missing is all of the sounds of people hitting each other, because people aren't really hitting each other. If this were a car chase, more than likely there would only be bits and pieces of the actual sound of the car chase. If we were blowing up a building, typically the sound that would come in would not really sound like a building is supposed to sound being blown up. So my job is to step in and make it actually sound like it looks. Best way to illustrate it is in this little flurry in the fight. I'll play for you just those sounds as we're shot with the picture. So my job then is to look at that picture and figure out the structure of the fight and make sounds that are appropriate for that fight. So now I'll play back that same section, and I'll play it without the production, but with just those sound effects isolated by themselves that have been cut. Something that's very important in the dynamics of the actual fight sounds is that one of the pitfalls is that you can't make every hit be the biggest hit that ever walked the face of the planet, because then what happens is it all sounds very much the same. So every hit, every punch, every kick is examined one at a time. The film is taken apart and dissected, and a sound that is exciting yet appropriate for not only that individual hit, but for the overall dynamics of the fight. It's as if to say, if there's a flurry of 7 or 8 hits, and the last hit is considered what we call a dispatching hit. That's the hit that's got enough energy to finally knock the guy down. It's really that dispatching hit that everything is aiming towards. This is a pretty vicious sound. Sound like that is used almost exclusively when it's a kick to the head. The gooiness in some of these sounds simply has to do with what euphemistically is called gore in the sounds of films like this, where you really need to add the quality of bone breaking and blood vessels popping and things like that to get that intensity. Now the same thing will play with the production and with those sound effects added. Now, of course, what would be added to that then would be Foley, which is all of the small sounds of the movement, all of the footfall on the mat, all of the whooshing of the arms.
Sorry.
Okay, Robin and Sarah, we're going to record the body falls for this scene next.
All right, Dean. All right, Dean. Let's do it.
Okay. Foley is creation of sound effects live on stage in sync with the picture. Years ago, Foley was simply a way to record footsteps in sync with the picture. It was something that they didn't really want to do, but it made the overall sound job easier, so they built these stages, and they did it with the least amount of expertise and the least amount of money. Now, Foley has become two things. It's become a way to bring life to a scene, and it's also become a way to ease the editor's burden in terms of the hard effects that he has to cut Okay, that was great.
Foley and I work together as a team, you know. In the case of the fights, I've taken care of all of the actual impacts, all of the actual skin hitting skin, but the sounds of the cloth movement, the sounds of the feet on the mats, the sounds of the arm or you know, the leg whipping through the air, the whooshes behind it, those we've decided in this particular film to leave to Foley.
I think a good Foley artist needs a sense of rhythm and
sense of creativity. You have to think
Definitely.
of, you know, you have to think of what will work for sounds. Sometimes the real thing, it doesn't necessarily sound right.
and you have to think on your feet. No
Right.
pun intended. But you do. And most
I think
of
a
all,
sense of humor helps too. You're trapped in this room all day, so.
and this is like a marriage, so you got to love your partner.
We rented mats for the show, the professional real karate mats. But when we got them and they sounded dreadful. They got too much residual noise, and it actually didn't sound good at all. So we had to come up with something that would, even though it's not correct, it doesn't look
Visually,
right.
it's not right.
But it sounded
Sonically.
better. You don't want it to get in the way and make it a problem.
It takes an incredible amount of focus because the red light goes on and you have to be there like this, you know, so it really is split-second timing.
You have to be in sync, and you also have to, I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's character. I mean, when somebody's angry, they walk differently.
There are good Foley artists and there are bad Foley artists. And if Foley artists are bad, there isn't anything I can do with these knobs to make it sound right. And therefore, it becomes extremely important to get good people out there. Robin and Sarah are among the best. Okay, good.
This room looks like my grandmother's attic because we need a million props to do, literally everything is redone. Each prop is redone, so we go to junkyards and
we have all these different surfaces if you're walking on cement, or if you need dirt, or if you need wood,
Gravel pit, water.
or brick, linoleum. You have to have all the different surfaces so that you can go from outside, walk along the grass, onto the street, into a wooden house, up the stairs. So you have all these different surfaces.
I'll play the scene now. This is 13 channels of Foley playing.
Later on the dubbing stage, when they put this stuff together, they can pick the sounds, the best flatter, the dialogue, the production, the music, the Foley, all of the other elements that are coming together at that point. What may result may be a composite of literally hundreds of tracks of sound.